care in between. Physics, art, and math got us down this path. Historical tales come alive, where science and stories dive. Blended facts with heart, knowledge from the start. Need bridge blues we sing to the future memory. Health and science in the mix. Need got the fix. Complex subjects make
right
clear
now
every episode
in ways that we actually acquire these
leads the way.
and ways that make me more efficient.
In the world of digital streams, turning knowledge into dreams. Through the tales of old, new stories unfold.
Thank you so much for joining with me. It is a truly an honor and a privilege.
MedBix Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges.
Hey, welcome to the MedBix Webcast. This is Ramana Namaraju. I'm the host. We have a very interesting subject to talk about and a very interesting guest. She's a certified triple boarded doctor. Very few I get some once in a while triple boarded. So actually, let us talk about a little bit of what's going on in the country right now. So the President Trump is saying that Canada, Mexico is importing a lot of fentanyl. That's why he's putting a lot of tariffs on them. So the fentanyl is coming to the United States. A lot of addiction, fentanyl addiction. I'm in the center of Silicon Valley, the epicenter of the fentanyl addiction here. Unfortunately, I'm not laughing, but it is a very serious situation here in Silicon Valley. But not only here, I spent most of my life in Georgia, in Alabama, and Florida, where there is a rural woman. They're all addicted to the prescription drugs. Very strange. That is a lot of prescription drugs. Whatever you call, our guest can explain a little bit more about the addiction. These are the prescription medicines. There's lots of them. There are a lot of problems. It is a problem with a systemic problem. It is a physician problem. It is a patient problem. We don't know. We have to solve this problem. Big prescription addiction. So this is really we need to address this market of addiction. American youth is really consumed by this is a really challenge for the country to face the huge number of people addicted to the prescription drugs or fentanyl and all those things. Heroin is the same thing as the fentanyl. So the Dr. Meenu Vaid. She is a Meenu Salwan Vaid. She is a triple boarded certified doctor. She has a lot of odd combination of triple boarded. She's infectious. She's a board certified in internal medicine, infectious diseases, and addiction medicine. Now she focuses on a lot more on addiction medicine now. So let me bring her and let her introduce herself a little bit, give her journey up to the point. Dr. Meenu Vaid, welcome to the MedBix Webcast.
Hi, Ramna. Nice to be here today.
Explain to me a little bit about your journey up to this point. What are you? How did you end up in this position right now? What are you at? Where did you start your whole thing?
So my parents immigrated from Punjab, India, to have a better life for their kids, just like all parents do. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois. We had a retail, wholesale Indian grocery store business in Chicago, Illinois, Star Foods and Salwan Trading. My brothers and I grew up working there. So hard work was not just a value, it was integrated into us. We had to do hard work every day. I would do my homework. I would be at the store. I would bag groceries. Funny thing, even in residency, I would come back after my shift and bag groceries at the store. And now when we go back to visit, I make my kids help bag groceries and stock the shelves too. So there I went on and I went to med school in India. I finished high school here, went to India. That was a little change because grew up here, was put in a whole new environment. The good thing was working at the Indian store, I knew how to speak Hindi now. We spoke Punjabi at home. So I was able to communicate, and that was good. And school was in English. So that was very nice. I did that. We came back and I took my boards, got into residency. So finally started to feel like I was getting independent, getting that first paycheck, which was not much, but it was just really nice. And then what does every Indian parent say after you're independent? Oh, it's time to get married. So I actually then got married. My husband is also an internist, Dr. Vaid. We eventually moved to California, and we have three most days lovely children, I want to say, 2 daughters and a son. In the process, I ended up picking infectious disease when I was finishing up internal medicine because I really enjoyed during my initial years of training how infectious disease is a specialty where you're putting a bunch of jigsaw puzzles together to figure out what could be causing this. Why is this person having a fever? What kind of infection? Did they travel recently? And so that was good for some time. I did a clinic in Hollister along with correctional care that I was doing. But slowly, things start to change. We grow over time. And I lost my father right before COVID in 2022.
Oh, sorry.
That starts to change a lot, right? You start to put things into different perspectives. And I think I just tried to keep myself very busy. I started studying addiction medicine. There was a way to do the pathway exam, and I did that. I became a wellness coach. I decided to write a book, just trying to figure out what do I want to do, keep myself busy. Maybe that was what it was, because losing a parent is probably one of the hardest things that we have to go through.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine that. That's the my brother. I lost my brother recently, so that was that he is a grew. I grew up with him. He's lived in Canada most of his life, and then I moved here. Is So that's a really challenging. The loved ones lost, losing them. Um, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your journey to the, why, in Punjab, you came from, you were born in Punjab, you said.
Yes.
So you were born in Punjab, right?
I
So,
was born and I came
yeah,
when I was 1 years
yeah,
old.
correct. So I heard that in India, Punjab is also an epicenter of addiction. A lot of drugs, a lot of they coming incoming from Pakistan and other countries. Is a lot of fentanyl and other drugs. It's a huge problem in Punjab. Do you know anything about it? Can you address a little bit about that?
So that is very definitely true. There's has been a crisis in Punjab for especially the younger youth. They're seeing a lot and a lot more of them, as they like to call it, chitta, which is usually heroin, the white powder. You'll see a lot of that being used. But it's not just Punjab has a significant problem, but it's all of us, right? As humans, we all want to feel good. It's hard, right? Feelings, these things your mind thinks about, it's difficult. You're trying to find a way to not feel that pain. And we're trying to find something that's going to just make us feel better and not take this pain away or this anxiety or this stress. And it's wherever you decide to channel it, right?
So yeah, that is a natural human tendency to feel better. That is a natural state. Let me ask you a question that that what how do the it's a big struggle always. I have a lot of doctors come to me sometimes. My son is going through this problem. Ravana, can you help me? Even though they're doctors. So tell us, how do you recognize? How do you, as a friends and family, how do you recognize the symptoms? Very I what I found out is very difficult to recognize these symptoms. Tell us a little bit of indications that we can easily find out what's going on with them.
So it's very complex. But part of the DSM-5 criteria that we look at when we see people to diagnose them and whether they're severe, moderate, family members can start to see that their loved one is not really there. They're missing important events. They're not making work on time. They're missing school. They're not as engaged with you. They don't care. The things that they used to like to do, going to the movies or eating out, they don't enjoy those anymore. They get very irritable. You'll see them where they don't want to talk to you, especially when they're in the state of trying to find out where they're going to get their next choice of drug from. So they become irritable and they're planning in their head, and they don't even realize, because the whole way the circuits have changed. Your brain anatomy has, not anatomy, but the neural circuits have changed. So definitely a change in the way they react. Are they being more late? Let's say someone who's always showing up punctually. Don't start to think if someone shows up late and that's their habit, because I'm never on time. But it's like if someone is not the same, and you wanted to see there's subtle changes, but over time they get worse. And unfortunately, when you start to see more and more of those, then we are kind of behind the game. You want to make sure you start to pay attention. Sometimes they're sleeping too much. They're not eating as well. Those are some of the things that they can look at.
You mentioned all these are psychological and social behavior, but what about is there any genetic markers we can pre-advance at the day they were born? We can find out, hey, this person can be more prone to the addictions. Can we identify them a little bit more? Are there any tools available for us as a physicians and for you and other people?
So there are some studies on genomes. You know how they're doing the human gene mapping. There are some genes that we've started to see that could predispose you to be more likely. Like there's the OPRM1, which is in opioids. It reacts on the mu receptors, and you can see if there's an allele A1 change. That's how they respond to morphine or heroin or methadone. They might have, some people might not feel enough of pain relief and they end up taking higher amounts, versus some people who are overly sensitive and they can't tolerate it. The other ones is like a CHRNA5, that is a cholinergic nicotinic acid alpha unit, and that is known in people who have nicotine dependence. There's also the OPRM, the GABRA1, that we'll see it in alcohol dependence. You'll see it in benzodiazepine misuse. There's quite a few different genes that we talk about.
So, genes, if identifying genes, it gives you warning signs. So you can get the families can be ready and a little bit more, you are more prone when they come to know when their childhood days, hey, you could be very prone to these problems. So be careful, and everybody watching around that is helpful. But there is no gene therapy or anything. There is not much available in that sense, right?
No, not at this point, because genetics play. The studies actually say about 35 to 55% of the chance, if someone in your family had a drinking problem or drug use, you have a higher chance of doing that. But genetics play a role, and for sure they tilt the gaming table, but it doesn't mean that all is lost. You can adjust your environment to make sure that you don't go down that route if you are aware.
I hear the treatment side, several things I hear. A lot of times doctors, psychiatrists say medicine is the first option. Okay. The drugs are the first option. Then psychologists say, no, the counseling is the therapy is there is a big conflict. People get confused about it. Tell us how the journey, you're in between somewhere. So you could explain to us a little bit about that conflict, and how do you treat the people with addictions?
So it has to be a multidisciplinary approach. I believe in being patient focused. It has to be individualized to the patient and their condition. It should be evidence based, and it should be holistic. So when we say multidisciplinary, for these people to achieve success for their sobriety, they need a team. I can give you some medication, but you need the family support. So for the days you're not feeling well and you have those thoughts come, so someone can help you get through that. Or like how in AA they would have sponsors who you could lean on. You need to get a therapist, because often we need to find out the why. We need to know, why did I go down this? Did I start taking pain medications when my dad passed away? Did that start to trigger it? And then I kind of went there. Did I never work those feelings out? Was I abused as a child? Is there some sort of event that we need to work in? Oftentimes you'll notice that when you start to treat the substance abuse, there's an underlying mental health illness there too. So they are a definite component that we need for that.
So the one of the things is a 12-step program, right? That's the normal prescription for a lot of these things. but there is a lot of recurrence. It is not a huge success in general. There's a lot of so what are the things that you adopt in the addiction medicine specialist? What kind of treatments, multifaceted, you said that your multi-pronged approach that you do. So give us a little bit about that, expand that a little bit, what multi-pronged approach you do.
So one of the things, besides the medication, right, we really encourage engaging in therapy sessions. You could do individualized therapy sessions. You could do family therapy sessions. You can even do groups, right? Those are very important. And you do need, I recommend gratitude journaling. A lot of, you have to remember that this is not a sprint. This is going to be a marathon. And just because today you relapsed does not mean you cannot pick yourself back up. And we have to look at from where you've come and where you're at today. So if someone tells me that, hey, I used to drink a whole 750 ml bottle of vodka and now I have just one shot, I'm going to say, well done. And I know that takes us away from the way there's that stigma where people are like, no, these people don't need help. But that's not true, right? When a diabetic doesn't take their insulin, do we tell them, oh, we're not going to give it to you anymore. You don't need it. You're not taking your medication. I'm taking it away. This is the same thing. We have to recognize that addiction is not a habit, or it's not because this is just how I am. It's an actual disease. It's a disease of the brain. We've changed the way we think. That's why when people say that he no longer cares about his parents or she was stealing from her grandmother's purse, it's because they're not thinking that. They're trying to survive. It's a struggle for them as well. So you have to show them that empathy and you have to be on their team. And I think that's the number one thing. They feel isolated. Society has not accepted them at this point. It has a significant impact on there. So if we all are telling them, hey, we're here, we're going to get you the help, we're going to get you the counseling, we're going to get you the medication if you qualify for medication. It has to be all of that.
I mean, is there any difference between the fentanyl addiction or alcohol addiction? They're all prescription addiction. There are all of them there, right? So they're all underlying the same problem, or are there any different approaches you have to do for these kind of addictions?
So with everyone is a little bit different. So you have alcohol use disorder, you have stimulant use disorder. Stimulant use disorder would be like methamphetamines, cocaine. There's not really any FDA approved medications for that. What really works is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a type of therapy provided by mental health personnel and clinicians. So those things have to take that approach. When we have benzodiazepines, those become very dangerous. You have to be oftentimes you have to be monitored, right? It could be an inpatient detox. Even with opioids, it's very dangerous. People become pretty unstable when they're not taking it. I've seen a lot of our patients end up going to the ER because they're dehydrated. They've had just been miserable, not been eating. It's like getting the flu, but 10 times worse, and they're struggling.
Yes.
So we can't do the same thing. Some might need IV fluid, some might need this medication. With alcohol use disorder, it's been around for a long time. So we do have a couple of different medications that we could use. For opioids, they're in the process of doing some, but buprenorphine has been a life changer. Methadone was used as well, and there's some people who are treatment resistant and we use methadone for.
One of the things that recently that a lot of people are talking about, Johns Hopkins, other places talking about the psychedelics, psilocybin medications, 200 milligrams, just you administer one time. It is a one dose is enough for them. And there is a lot of positive research going on, positive results coming out of the studies. What do you think of that actually?
So we're in exciting times with all the psychedelics coming into the market. There's a lot of research going on. There's like you mentioned, psilocybin. That has a lot of research studies. They've been using it in anxiety. They've been using it in treatment-resistant depression. And there's even some evidence that it would help in alcohol dependence and along with nicotine use. So but we have to remember psilocybin is basically magic mushrooms, and we could have a bad trip. So it has to be in a controlled setting with someone who's a professional and knows how they're dosing you and what you're doing, because it could actually turn out to having terrible side effects where you're actually not doing well. Other ones that we're looking at, MDMA, which is known as ecstasy, there's actually a phase 3 trial. They're using that for PTSD patients. There's also ibogaine that we've seen, and that is their thing might help with cravings and withdrawal for opioids. There's quite a few in the market at this time.
Sometimes there's a lot of bad effects also could be happen without a controlling situation there. That's why it's a schedule one drug. Is it that California allows you to administer the psychedelics at this time?
So there's more, it's not FDA approved at this time. It's more investigational. People are trying it. This off-label use by some people who are comfortable trying it. I believe Andrew Huberman did a podcast regarding it, and it's very low doses. You're kind of titrating them, but you're watching them. It has to be a very quiet room when you're trying this, and they cannot be disturbed. There's that DMT. Those are all part of those psychedelics that have been used at this point, but nothing that has come out and it's been approved by FDA to start using.
That you're a part of and I'm going to switch gear a little bit about that. Your obesity, you're passionate about obesity. I don't know why that's entirely different. It's nothing to do with these all three boats you took. But obesity is the epidemic in this country. Besides the addiction of a lot of prescription and fentanyls and all kind of outside drugs. But what is this cause of this obesity? And is it the sugar addiction? Is a sugar you consider as an addiction? So tell us a little bit about the obesity, metabolic syndrome. You're talking about a little bit. So what are the challenges about the obesity, dealing with obesity?
So I want to kind of go back when you said that it doesn't with my specialty. I joined Golden State Obesity Society because if you look at all the literature, everything is mind body, right? How your body and your mind are reacting to anything. With addiction medicine, that's the one thing I've learned is the mind. So even with obesity, it's the same concept. Your mind is craving food, right? Why is it doing that? Why do you want to eat that? It's the same thing. So when you're talking about addiction, it's basically saying that something I cannot go without. Is that social media? Is that caffeine? Caffeine is actually the number one most abused drug in the world. And we all of us wake up in the morning and we need our first cup of coffee or a cup of chai, right? So it could be that. It could be gaming. Gaming has become such a big issue now that you'll actually see the lawyers trying to reach out to you. Is your child playing for 4 hours a day? So all of those things, it could be anything. But in the end, it all comes down to our mind and how we're wired. How do I find out what the trigger is? And how do I work that to not get me to do the things I am? We think it's very simple, but it's never simple. When I am, let's say there's certain ways I act, but this somehow, they say by 30, we're 90% automated. And what we do, how we brush our teeth, what we do, we are no longer really processing a lot of these things. Our habits have been solidified. And it's been by conversations that we had when we were children. Something you saw an uncle or your dad do, and you start to do that. And you don't realize, oh, why do I not like that color red? But it's something that does that, right? So if I have a tendency to turn to food when I'm sad, why can I not find another? Maybe that I should go take a yoga class. It's that concept. And that's how that ties into, and that's why I'm really committed to the Obesity Society, because along with drug use, substance use, we have a big problem with obesity because our children are suffering now. This is on the rise. You see childhood obesity. We're trying to implement healthy eating habits in children in schools, get them home-cooked meals, try to find fast recipes. Dr. Nalawadi and I, one of my other colleagues, we from Golden State Obesity Society, we actually did a workshop in Morgan Hill with the teens where we basically just went over the nutrition label. So the kids could read a label and understand, what am I really getting? Because the kids were all like, I like to drink boba. They don't even realize how much sugar that has. Or a lot of the kids now, when they're studying for tests, they'll be taking the 5-hour energy drinks. It's 12 o'clock at night and they've taken a 5-hour energy thing to cram for those exams. So it's all tied in at the same way. And we have to work on our mind.
So there is a new kind of addiction is coming to our shores now. It is social media. The social media addiction is a big thing among particularly kids. That they're not looking at people. They're looking at the phones all the times. They're texting, talking, or not even talking, texting most of the time. through the apps. What do you think of that? How come the medical community need to raise very serious concerns about this kind of thing in a voice that is important for the teens and everybody, even the adults are getting hooked up on it nowadays. So tell us a little bit about that. How do you see that the treatment for that kind of a for the serious problem of social media addiction?
I have to admit, I'm guilty for that too. I've spent quite mindless time just scrolling through and watching videos. And it's difficult, right? It's because again, it's that trying to escape from what you're supposed to do or what you don't really want to do at this time. So it's going to be behavior modification. Again, same concept where we have to sit down and be like, okay, why don't I say I'm going to do this much work, be productive, like the Pompeo method. I'm going to do 1 hour of work and then I can get 5 minutes scrolling time. Set an alarm on your phone and go based off of that. So you have a trigger and you're doing that. Then you also will be like, no, I need to get this things done before I can do. It's a reward system, right? Similar, same concept. That's how we can use it. Rarely, there's some cases that they say they use low dose naltrexone and stuff to help with the cravings, but that's extreme cases. I think most cases, if we just try, let's go, if you go out to restaurants now to eat, you'll see that the entire family, the kids and the parents, they're not talking to each other. They're all just looking down on their phones. So we have to be like, no, everybody today is electronic free day, or disconnect the internet, whatever we need to do, but we need to find ways to reconnect, get that human connection back. Those are the things that are really going to help.
And also systemic problem that is we need to face these companies using a very cognitive kind of a psychosocial influence behavior. They are using it. We need to really raise the concerns about that. Dr. Vaid, I'm going to present a little bit and come back and will ask you. He wrote a book, a children's book. I'm very interested. And then also one thing you told me, I'm a physicist, and then one thing I loved it is that knowledge is medicine. That stuck me so powerful. I never heard that, and it's like I really loved it. So when I can, you and me watch together. You can jump in anytime. Let me let's bring this media together. So yeah, this is Doctor Dr. Meenu Vaid. She is a triple boarded, and she's shedding some light on the addiction. We have a serious problem. We need to solve this problem. We need people like her to help us go through these things. I'm going to present a little bit of a different thing. Okay, it is about if you see that hologram as a prescription. Is it possible holograms could be prescription? Dementia, pain. It is one of those things is going on. That's recently in 2020 after the Whitney Houston. I met Whitney Houston actually several times in Atlanta, Georgia, when the house was flooded. I used to meet her there in the. Then Tupac Shakur, they had a holographic tour, and Coachella. Tupac Shakur appeared there, and in 2020 they started this. Uh, they started this tour for a Whitney Houston holographic tour after she died. So what is the hologram? Hologram, when you see that, is a picture, is a two-dimensional. It looks like this. You don't see Whitney Houston there. You don't see Tupac Shakur there. You see a bunch of dots of. So it has a very strange properties of hologram. I will explain to you. So computer has a zero and ones, and then that's where it's stored. The reflection of the zero and ones. That's where you see in the computer with the Houston picture. On the right hand side, actually dots, holographic pictures. You see patterns. So hologram stores images and patterns, not in one and zeros. Is the interference patterns it stores. It's a very strange concept. Second property of the hologram, there are three distinct properties, very bizarre properties. If you take a two-dimensional, is a two-dimensional picture of the Whitney Houston or hearts, you can see. If you put a light on it, it becomes a three-dimensional. It's automatically from two dimensions to three dimensions. It expands into. That is a very bizarre property of the holograms. So the next one I'm going to talk about that is the third one is more interesting. You shine light on any one of the parts. You don't have to be the entire cloth, entire 2D picture. You can you can take any one of them and then put a light on it. It becomes the entire picture. So every part contains the whole. Every part of the picture in the holographic picture, every part contains the whole picture of the every cell, every atom, every pattern contains the entire picture. That's a very strange concept of the hologram. So basically, I don't want to go into the too much technical detail. You take an apple or you take a Whitney Houston, you put a picture there, and then you send a one difference beam, and you send another difference beam, and then they interfere, they create holograms. Okay. So, but I'm going to tell you something interesting. Is a Michael Talbot was a gay man. He died in 1992. He was with the AIDS actually. He was a brilliant journalist. Okay, so he wrote a book on. I don't know why there's some noise coming up, and he wrote a book on holographic universe. Brilliant book. It's a very insightful, thought-provoking book. He wrote a book is the brain and holograms and all those things. He wrote it. What he wrote in that book is now is becoming true. Actually, after he died, it became scientifically valid. So if you take a hologram, if you cut in half holographic picture, it doesn't become. People think it becomes half and half. No, it becomes two small pictures. If you cut in half, two further small pictures. If you cut in half, it is too small. So that's a driver's license. You see, if you cut in half, it doesn't become two halves. It contains the entire information. If you go further down, all the way to the down, the electron can contain all the information of the universe. Very strange concept of the holograms. So there is a big problem came in. One is a quantum physicist. Quantum physicist David Bohm got a problem. It's called a measurement problem. I will explain it in a second. That's in the book. He mentions these problems, and the neurosurgeon Carl Pribram, very famous neurosurgeon from Stanford, actually, he has a trauma patient problem. I tell you what that problem is. At that time, David Bohm got a problem with observer and observed. They say that according to the quantum physics, until you observe something, we don't know whether it exists or not. We don't know whether there is a moon. If you don't look at the moon, moon may not exist. That is the question even Einstein asked. Yes, quantum physics says that if you don't look long enough, it may not exist. Observer and observed has a very strange relationship in quantum physics. Until the particles you observe, we don't know what they're doing. You cannot ask even a question what they're doing before you observe it. That is a quantum physics fundamental principle, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. You cannot ask observer collapses and it becomes real when observer needs something. That's a very strange quantum physics phenomena. That it did not go very well with the David Bohm. David Bohm is a student of Albert Einstein. He was kicked out of this country because of his communism. He said that. Unfortunately, he's one of the top scientists. He moved to England, and then he met a very phenomenal Hindu philosopher, Jiddu Krishnamurti, there in England. Jiddu Krishnamurti is actually from India, Chennai. Then he moved to Ojai, California. Ojai, I think. Ojai, California, near San Diego. He moved there. He put an ashram there. Krishnamurti is a very well-known philosopher, spiritual master, and him and David Bohm, they combined them together. They found out that came out. One of the things is called it from bit. There is nothing there. It's the information created the reality. It is information. Bit is the reality. That's what you see. So reality comes to existence from the it, from the information. So he wrote a book, and a mathematical book framework he gave is called Implicate Order and One Mind. There is only one mind. We all think we have separate minds because that he explicate order, that our mind creates that illusion of we are all separate from each other. That is the David Bohm mathematical structure he gave is not just a abstract. So it is a gave a very scientific book he wrote. On the other hand, Carl Pribram has a problem. He's a trauma patient. If a trauma patient taken a three-fourths of his brain at that time, still they don't forget. If they ask them to recite the alphabets, they're not stopping at the B or C or D. They know entire alphabets if they know. So what is one of his conclusion was that one of his conclusion was actually every neuron contains all the information. It's a question of retrieval. Is a so what he was suggesting is every neuron contains all the memories. Your low memories, every memory it has. That's a very strange concept. Each neuron contains all the memories. So only question of retraction. How do you extract that information? So Carl Pribram was so that was where they met together, and they said that maybe brain is a hologram. Brain works like an hologram. That is the connection between the brain and the holographic structure. Every part contains the whole. That is a fundamental principle of the hologram. So that is both of them come to a conclusion that brain may be hologram because you can store a lot more stuff. So there is actually every cell contains the every cell contains the embryo containing information of the whole organism. Some people believe Chinese that acupuncture and all those people believe that embryo containing information of whole organism, stem cells is proving one of those kind of it to be true. So that's a new field. The embryo biology is a new field. So in the acupuncture, for example, they found out in the University of San Francisco, they did a studies on it. The ear contains all the entire body's information there. That's what the Chinese believe in the acupuncture. So in the randomized trial, say at least it worked for the chronic pain. They can treat the pain of a leg or something like that from the ear by treating the ear. That is one of the acupuncture very strange kind of result came out. So in the dementia, Alzheimer's and dementia frontier magazine in aging, frontiers in aging, they said that they are using the holograms as a memory cognitive functions they could use is increase the cognitive functions and memory also they found out. So anyway, holographic manipulation therapy, I don't know much about it. She may know about it, Dr. Vaid. This is a new kind of a therapy that they're saying that the hologram itself can reduce the stress, can create a kind of a cognitive functions, improve the cognitive functions. So it is a new therapy that HMT they call. So it's a radical, holography. Now we are using in the medical imaging. I sell MRI, CT scans. It's going to change the world in the medical imaging. You can see literally moving in the air, all the organs you can see in the real time. So it is so a lot of companies are coming in. Luxonic in Canada, Deep Perception, Real View is one of them. Ecopixel, Zebra, these are all coming companies in healthcare. They're promoting the holographic diagnosis and treatment side of the companies they're working on. So then eventually there is recently in the physics, there is a big change in the recently 1880s and 90s. Stephen Hawking and Juan Maldacena, Argentinian physicist, they said that universe may be hologram. It is all the information is stored on the surface of the hologram. It is a two-dimensional surface. It's a strange kind of phenomena. It's gaining a lot of momentum in the physics. So we are all could be holograms. That's what it says, that a brain could be hologram. You and me could be the reflection of the universal surface, could be holograms of results. And the universe itself is an hologram. It is a Maya at the center. I would say it is a very powerful system that the physics is going into a la la land. So now thank you for watching. But the la la land is talking about la la land. Dr. Vaid wrote a book about a girl who is going through a lot and kind of thing. Let me bring her to the table. So you know, this is a holographic. I don't know whether you heard about holograms or not.
That was a great topic. I was actually wondering with holograms, the imaging part you mentioned, but as we move further, it would be really amazing. They wouldn't need cadavers in medical school anymore. They could actually do anatomy class on the holograms.
Yes,
It would,
already they're starting actually.
that would, yeah, that's amazing.
Yes, they're starting just now. They're coming into the picture. So holographic, that's let us talk about the book he wrote, in the children's book he wrote. And this book is that Lala, the girl like Alice Wonderland. He did that. So what did this girl, why did you do that, and what is the inspiration for you, your daughters or you, or what inspired you to write that book?
So Araya actually came to life through my youngest daughter, Annika. She had come to me one day and she was telling me about how one of the boys in her class was saying that, oh, she has such dark hair. And we had started having this conversation because you start, at such a young age. She was only 8 and she was worried. And she's like, I want you to take my hair. And I'm like, but you have darker hair. We're from India. We have a different look, and lighter skinned people are different. Right. And so it got into that we're all different and we are all special in our own way. So Araya basically talks about how she sees all these different people. She sees the janitor at school and he inspires her to be funny. She sees a friend in school who dresses really well. One of the boys is a great athlete and she thinks she wants, but at the end of the day, she has to find her own path, what it is and how well you're going to be. Whether it's you want to be good in school, you want to be an athlete, you want to be a doctor, whatever it is, but find your own. Don't try to copy off of others and try to stay away from what everybody else tries to tell you. Is find your own way. And it's kind of like where I try to keep that philosophy with my kids. They'll ask me, what do you think I should go into? And I'm like, I don't want to tell you what to go into. I think you should find your own path. Plus, I don't want to hear them complain to me later that you made me do this.
That's a beautiful. In fact, I tell you why it strikes me in a very personal way. I have two mixed race children. Our my wife is an African American. My son is a neuroscientist actually. He says that he went through a lot of identity crisis. Then he says that I am that what I am. I'm a mix of both cultures. And then he celebrates Diwali. He can celebrate the Kwanzaa festival, whatever it is. That is, he is very comfortable. It took him time to really adjust himself into the process. My daughter got adjusted much easier, but my son struggled, but he eventually figured it out. That is itself, we need America is becoming a very mixed race society, so we need to really teach the children the confidence, and that book is such a powerful way of teaching them. So we used to teach them that you are that's what it is. You need to tell them that you are both. That's what sometimes that is a challenge, and then this is a society that gives them a lot of things that, as you know. So that's a book is a very powerful book. Tell us how this, in a sense, that this identity crisis can lead into addiction sometimes.
Of course. When you talk about that, so my name is Meenu. Imagine being here, growing up, and being called Meenu. It took me a long time to like my name. Kids used to call me Menu. And it was,
I don't want to laugh at it.
I would not want to say my name. And then I gradually figured out that that's something that's unique. My name's Meenu, and I would tell them, and they would be like, how do you say it? I go, you old, Meenu. My name's Meenu. And you accept it and you go there. But these are the things, if you look at right now, the bullying, that instead of being accepted as us being unique, people are getting bullied. We're not being accepted, right? In the end, you were talking about holographics and how all this is an illusion. The reality is none of this is going to define you. And you have to find, like they say, Sarv Bhavantu Sukhino, everybody find, may all beings be happy. You need to find what brings you peace, and you need to not let others define that.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part, I think, that you learn as we get older. So, and it's when you talk about your son, you have to let him find his path, right? You couldn't be like, no, no, listen to me. You're not listening. They have to come to that realization that it's okay. I get to celebrate two different cultures and I get to bring that to my kids and pass it forward. And that's the part that's so important, right? When you're young and you don't know what's right, what's wrong, and people are telling you what's right or wrong, and you start to listen to that. And that's when you start to feel, and if you're not what people consider normal and you're ostracized from society, that's what leads you to try to find other things to bring you happiness. Whether I'm going to start to smoke, or now you're trying like, oh, all the girls have blonde streaks in their hair, I have to do that. But now those girls are also saying we should be smoking marijuana. And you start to do that because you want to fit in.
Yeah.
And we spend all our life trying to fit in. And then we get older and we're trying to find something that's going to make us stand out from the crowd. So
Now my son is you talk about diversity. My son is getting married to a Punjabi girl. It's also the world is changing. We need to really adopt this kind of thinking. Diversity in thinking should be allowed. That's the motto of my podcast. That is missing that in the whole process. This addiction is a very concerning to a lot of people. Every family, particularly in high school period. It's one of the challenging periods for a lot of parents. And then after that, even doctors come to me, and my son is not listening. What do you think? How do I deal with my son? They used to, because they cannot. They a different generation. Sometimes the Indian parents in general, they have their kind of the set of rules from India. They bring that here and they wanted to impose on them instead of understanding. Some of them are Hippocratic values. That hypocrisy is there, and that's you need to really recognize. We need to. We need to not only treat the young people, we need to teach even the older people what is the right and wrong. That is a big, if we want to solve that problem of addiction and all those things. So that book is a really powerful book. You wrote that. That's me. It's called Girl's Journey Through the Self Identity. I think that's a very good book. It is available on Amazon. Dr. Vaid, is it available?
it is available on Amazon.
Thank you. So Jay, I'll give you a final word on it. What do you say that what do you want to be? You can be reached as a Meenu. You have a website on your website, anything? Yeah,
Yes,
tell me your website. I will put it there in the
it's SaveraWellness.com.
Savera, SaveraWellness.com, right? Yeah, I'll do that. Just a minute. I'll put the Savera Wellness. What
It's
is
been
Savera means?
Savera means a new morning, right? A morning, the rise. So you're getting it. You have to. It's kind of based off of the thought that no matter what, there's always another morning. You're gonna see the light, and that's the concept. It's based off of the Hindi term. Savera means morning, and you're seeing.
Morning. Yeah.
So you're trying to have that one thing that humans have, hope, that yes, it will get better. And I think that's what we're trying to say. When life is ever evolving. You were talking about how your friends come to you with the issues with their kids. That's the important part. We have to evolve with the time. We cannot do what our parents did. That's what brings in the legacy burden, right? The things that our parents did and we kind of remember, and I don't want to pass that to my children. I want to have that relationship where we do it. And then they will choose things that we do that they do not want to pass on to their children. So that's what we want to do. We want to make a place that's safe. We want everybody to be kind to everybody. It doesn't matter what religion or background we come from. In the end, it's the same thing, right? We all want to be happy, and let's be kind to each other. So keep learning, keep evolving.
Yes, your full name is Meenu Salwan Vaid, right? You have a famous brother now. He is a mayor of a Fremont. So you came from a very distinguished family now. So Dr. Meenu Vaid, it is really wonderful to talk with you. It is a pleasure. You shed us light on the one of the major problems of this country, crisis. We are going through a crisis. It is a serious epidemic problem. I like to that thank you for shedding some light on this kind of things. Thank you so much for joining with us. If you say want to say final words, you're welcome to say. So thank you so much. Again, good night, all of you. I am good night, all of you. That let me. This is yeah. Good night.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it